Hi, families. I'm Peppy Barton, Director of Communications, and I wanted to walk you through about if we learn about a positive COVID case, when and how families will be communicated with. And so I wanted to run through our communications COVID protocols so you have a better understanding of when we learn about a positive case and how it's managed on the back end. One thing to know is that if a positive case is in a school, you may not be communicated with based off guidance from Minnesota Department of Health and all the factors related around that case, such as if social distancing was in place or if there's no close contacts. So I want to kind of explain what those are, and I will share my screen to show you that we have a positive case or a communications positive case protocol on our website that you can also review. And here it is. So first of all, how to access that is just sowashco.org/fall2020. And if you scroll down here, you'll see COVID-19 protocols. So if we click on that, this will take you to the communications protocols for COVID-19 once we learn about cases. So something good to know is that we have a district licensed school nurse. We work closely with Washington County Public Health and the Minnesota Department of Health when we learn about a case of COVID-19 in our school community. Now, here at the top, there's some terms to know. A low risk right here means that the specifics of a case, and that includes social distancing, cleanliness, the type of contacts they had with others, and when symptoms develop, all play a role in whether it's considered a low risk or a high risk. And so a low risk means it's really similar to walking around in public areas, like if you're in a grocery store. So there's no greater risk than if you're walking around in the community. And there's some more explanation here. Now, a close contact, that means anyone who is within 6 feet of the person who is sick while they were considered to be infectious, and that's 2 days prior to symptoms, and that's for 15 minutes or more. And so those individuals will likely be asked to quarantine for 14 days, even if the results are negative. And so as we talk about, these are the two main categories that we work on in our communications protocol. And again, all of this is guided by the Minnesota Department of Health and our county public health on how we respond to an individual case. And so if we scroll down here, this is our communications protocol for when we learn about a case. And all these guidelines are subject to change depending on the individual case and the individual guidance from the Minnesota Department of Health. And so in the blue here, this is no risk. And so this is if a student or staff member or a parent learns that someone from the neighborhood, maybe a family friend or a non-household family member tested positive for COVID-19, but there was no interaction. So that's no risk. It's not considered a risk because it's not a direct positive case affecting our school community. So no communication will go out for those types of situations. Now in the green here, if a person thinks they've been exposed to COVID-19 or they believe they are exhibiting symptoms, but they don't have test results back, that is a potential risk. So that person would be asked to stay home and to report their test results once received. Because that's not a positive test at this point, that would not be a communication either. And now here in our first yellow, we're talking about buildings. So if a person tests positive for COVID-19 and they were inside a district building, but it's determined that social distancing was in place and they did not have a close contact. And again, that close contact is being with someone without social distancing for 15 minutes or more. This is considered a low risk. So generally no one in the building is at risk unless they've been identified to be in close contact with that person. And in general, we would not send a communication for this specific scenario. Now, also in the yellow here is for like classroom or spaces. So if a person tests positive for COVID-19, but it's determined that social distancing was in place and they didn't have close contact with others in a classroom, in a childcare setting, a program, district transportation, or an athletics team or pod, this is still considered a low risk, but it's been identified they've been around a lot more people. And so this is a low risk, and that we would communicate to the individuals affected in that classroom, in that childcare setting, in a program or district transportation, as well as athletics. And so generally it's low risk. There would be no quarantine or anything like that in this scenario, unless the individual was considered to be a close contact. Now in red here, if a person tests positive for COVID-19 and it is determined by health officials that they had close contact with others in a classroom, in a childcare setting, a program, or athletics, then they could be considered at risk. And so those affected individuals will likely be asked to quarantine at home, but the final response will really be determined by health officials. But we would communicate this to those affected individuals in in whatever group that is defined as being a close contact with that person. So I hope that provides a little outline to how we will communicate to families around a positive COVID case in our school community. And again, we cannot communicate every case, and each case is really guided by the Minnesota Department of Health and the Washington County Public Health on how we respond to that case. So if you do hear about a case and you haven't been communicated with, there's usually a reason for that. And so I hope you'll be able to take some time and review our communications protocols as they stand today. And again, guidance is always coming out that may change or adjust the chart that I just showed you. So I hope that provides some guidance to how our school year will go when we're talking about communications for positive COVID cases. Thank you.